All right, this is a question that lots of people have.
Absolutely.
All across the country, because there's growing frustration and confusion over the practice of tipping.
Some consumers say there's mounting pressure to tip in places they normally wouldn't, right? They spin the screen around to you so everyone else can see it. While folks in the service industries say they're actually feeling the pinch right now of customers scaling back on spending. Now, here are some few examples of traditional tipping guidelines. Let's see. It includes 15 to 20% tip on your bill at restaurants. I do agree with that. 10% gratuity when it's already included. I don't know that I agree with that. Curbside check-in at the airport should be $5 per bag. I think that's quite standard. And on moving day, you should tip each person $10 per 2-hour period. Sure. But since the pandemic, many folks are saying it's just more than they can afford.
Well, let's bring in Michael Lynn. He's a Cornell University professor of consumer behavior. Michael, it seems as more businesses adopt digital payment methods, as you heard Errol say, they're turning those little screens around to you, and the options that they give you don't include 15%. It starts off at 18 and sometimes goes up as high as 30%. And this is often in places that people traditionally haven't tipped before. How is all of that changing the culture and attitudes about tipping? Is this a good thing because there are so many people who are working in these jobs that are struggling to get by, or is it just making our economy even more,
messy?
Messy, yeah.
I guess whether it's good or bad depends on whose perspective you're taking. From an employee's perspective, they're getting extra revenue. And research shows that the more you ask for, the more you're going to get. So those options that start at 18 and go up to 25% generate more revenue than if they started the options at, say, 10 or 15%.
Now, many folks overtipped during the pandemic, according to what's in front of me.
Well, a lot of us did, right? We tried to,
like, let me make
especially
up for
anybody who is delivering food or groceries to your house.
Precisely.
You were paying them as
frontline workers, right?
Absolutely.
Folks who are out there risking it all. But do you feel there's now a shift towards scaling that back? And what does this really expose about the poor structure of salaries and pay, hourly pay for service workers like restaurant staff, for example?
Okay. Well, during the pandemic, tips at quick service restaurants increased 2.5%. Tips at full service restaurants about 0.5%. And the data that I have seen shows that that's continued through at least this past summer. I haven't seen more recent data, but I don't know of any evidence that tips are going back down. They have gone down from the peak of the pandemic, but they haven't gone back down to pre-pandemic levels. What does this say about kind of structural issues in the industry? Look, it's mostly restaurant waiters and waitresses who are paid less than the standard minimum wage. So for them, tips are absolutely critical. Most other people, baristas, drivers, others, are getting at least the minimum wage, and then tips are on top of that. I'm a behavioral scientist, not an etiquette expert, but my opinion is, I feel obligated to tip waiters.
Yeah.
But anybody else, I don't feel obligated. Often I do tip as an expression of appreciation, especially if they've gone above and beyond in serving me.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Sure. But sometimes I think that there's an expectation to tip, even when there hasn't been.
They're handing you a bottle of water at the airport.
Right. All right. Michael Lynn, appreciate it so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Oh, you're welcome. My pleasure.